Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to embrace words of wisdom. Hashem. So, over the years, I have worked with a lot of people directly. I've had my share of clients over the years. And likewise, I've interacted with even more, particularly online or, in lectures. I've done a variety of lectures, and I've done a couple of stints in different colleges and universities, always talking about Yoruba culture. I'm talking about, the tradition, the religion, and et cetera. And while it's difficult, if not impossible, to, let's say, oversimplify everybody who comes to the tradition, I can tell you with a really, really, really high level of certainty that the way people come into the tradition has a really profound, if not definitive, effect on the way they perceive the tradition. So you get people who come into the Orisa lifestyle because they had a health problem and the doctor couldn't solve it. You have people who come to Orisa lifestyle because they had legal problems and the lawyer couldn't solve them. You have people who come into Orisa lifestyle because they had relationship problems and the counselor could not solve them, right? And when Orisa solves their problem, if it's a relationship problem or a health problem or a money problem, they tend to define the tradition by what they got out of it. They tend to define the tradition based on what the tradition fulfilled for them, right? Some people come to the tradition based on the different depictions of the Orisa themselves. If it's the visual imagery, or if it's the stories, or maybe they went to a ceremony and they saw the dances and they really identify with something in the aesthetics or the iconography of the Orisa. And it speaks to them in a way that other things have not. And so they want the tradition to be that. Okay, at the end of the day, that is a really strong trend in people's experience. And that's cool in the beginning. That's totally fine when you're a novice and you're just kind of beachcombing. You're picking through it, and you're a little bit into astrology, and you're a little bit into tarot, and you're a little bit into Egyptology, and you're right. It's fine. It's fine when you're at that level. But when you make the conscientious and deliberate decision to commit to Orisa lifestyle, you're going to say, this is my path. This is my life path. This is the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is the thing that I want to pass on to my children, for example. Then it becomes very important, obligatory, I would say, that you broaden your horizon, you expand your understanding, you liberalize your worldview by moving out of the things that reinforce, your own interpretation, and start to get a real grasp of what the tradition is truly about. You have to start looking at the history of the Yoruba people. You have to start looking at the structure of the civilization and the sociology of the Yoruba people. You got to look at the real indigenous economy and the means of production and things like that of the Yoruba people, right? Because if you don't do that, then you're going to be confused. You're going to be constantly projecting your ideas and your needs onto the tradition, and it's never going to reciprocate because you're trying to get it to do something that it really doesn't do. I'll give you an example, a couple of examples that come to mind. Sometimes, frequently, it's a guarantee. At a certain point in people's journey, you're going to hear somebody say, Oh yeah, money's not part of the tradition. Money is an indication of corruption, right? The priests and the priestesses who take money for divination and take money for sacrifice and take money for initiations, those are corrupt priests who've been somehow contaminated by external forces. And it sounds good to the other beginners. It sounds great. They love it. For the other people who have some sort of a disdain for capitalism, or have a disdain for money and things like that, or people who are just broke and mad because they can't get money to do what the things that they want to do, all those people are going to be rah, rah, rah. Yeah, no more money. That's fake. Sounds good. But there's no point in Yoruba history, boys and girls, there is no point in Yoruba history that you're going to find that they did not have money. The Yoruba have had money. If you're going back to cowrie shells, and even before that, there were coins. They were making coins. They were making bracelets. They were making rings. They had a variety of different ways to indicate money, even to the point that there's a deity. We have Orisa Aje. Orisa Aje is money. Okay. The Odu that will tell you how Ajay came from heaven to earth, what her relationship is to the other deities. All that is there. So the idea that the Yoruba people don't have money, that's a fallacy. That's not true. Don't believe that. Another one would be sacrifice. Oh, at some point, you're going to run into somebody who's going to say, yeah, sacrifice is not necessary. You don't have to give, especially not a blood sacrifice. You don't have to give roosters and rams and goats. That isn't necessary. That's a sign of corruption. That's an indicator of some kind of a degenerate blah blah blah. And they have all kind of rhetoric to talk it through, and it sounds good. It's compelling to the people who don't know. Okay, to the people who don't know, they will tell you that the sacrifice is like a developmental phase, and eventually they're going to evolve out of that. Nope. There's no point. There's no point in Yoruba history. There's no point in the sacred text of Ifa or Erindinlogun where you're going to find that Shango was doing what he did, and they offered him beets. You're never going to find Odu where they say, yeah, give Ogun carrots. They were giving Ogun carrots, and Ogun was building civilizations. No. You're not going to find that. You're not going to find that. Nowhere. Okay? Another one, what you're going to hear, guaranteed, somewhere along the line, people are going to tell you that the patriarchy is an indication of corruption or some sort of a contamination or degeneracy, right? A degeneration of the culture and the tradition, et cetera, that once upon a time, the Yoruba were a matriarchy, and the women ruled everything. There were woman kings. The movie just came out, but you know what I mean. They'll try to tell you this, but nope, that is not true. That is not true. There is no point in Yoruba history. There's zero historical account of the Yoruba being a matriarchal civilization. Nowhere. There is nowhere in the history that says the Yoruba were matriarchs. At best, you will get some segments of the people. I know, for example, somewhere in amongst the Ijebu, the Ijebu have the Ijebu are a general kingdom, but then they're broken down into subsets. There was some set of the Ijebu who are matrilineal, which means you trace your lineage through your mother's father, which is kind of how they do in Senegal. But overall, the Yoruba as a whole have always been patriarchal. Always. And so the difficulty in all of these examples, and there are more, if I sit and think about it more, there will be more and more, like red light issues and topics that the people want the Orisa tradition to be based on their needs. But these things don't square at all with the reality of the tradition. And these folks will gravitate towards one another, and then they start to mirror one another. You meet other people who resonate with what you're saying, and they're at the same level that you're in, or they're coming from the same problem that you're coming from. You got the same pain and suffering that you have, and you start to reinforce each other, and you feel so good in this that you believe that it's real because there are 5, 10 other people who agree with you. And even worse, what you find is the people who have been, what do they call it, trauma bonding. You know, they're coming out of something that they're heartbroken and destitute, and then they run into one another and they start espousing these ideas, and they mirror one another and they reinforce one another, and it just becomes like a pact, right? We're a gang, right? That's committed to this, even though what you're standing upon, it has no base, has no foundation. It is not at all based on reality, right? And these people will start to misinterpret this Odu. They will start retelling stories and omitting parts, and they don't even know that it comes from an Odu. I mean, it's like, I've heard it all, truly. I've heard it all. And it's all nonsense, okay? Not to poo-poo on what, that's where you are in your journey. I encourage you to keep going, because once you get through the other side of that, then you're going to see things very differently. You're going to have a more comprehensive understanding. I'm just saying that it's not real, right? It's not real. And the only way you're going to figure out that it's real is you got to do your homework. You have to do your homework. You got to do your research. You need to start digging into Yoruba history. You need to start digging into Yoruba language. You need to start looking at the social psychology of the Yoruba. You need to look at the economy. You need to look at the family structure. And you need to study these things. And the best thing about it is that all of these things have been studied by the Yoruba themselves. The Yoruba have been literate and avid researchers of their culture and their tradition for a long time. So if you just want to take it from the horse's mouth, you can. Go back and start doing research on what the Yoruba were writing about themselves in 1950, in 1960, in 1970s. All there, scholarly papers, right? And you're going to see what their points of reference are, what their sources are. Everything's there, right? But this is for the serious seekers, right? Not for the beachcombers. The beachcombers they're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. But the ones who are committed, I want you to take this seriously, and I want you to really get a grasp of what you're espousing and what you're committing to. Because the last thing you want to do is commit to something, receive a shrine, or get initiated into something that fundamentally contradicts your core values, something that you're never going to be comfortable with, right? Because you don't have to do that. This isn't a situation where you have to be an Orisa devotee or you're going to burn in hell. But we don't teach that. We don't believe that. No one's going to tell you that. And if they do, they're deceiving you. This is totally up to your own, this is according to your will. You don't have to be a devotee. There's plenty of wisdom that you can glean from this tradition. You can learn from the text. You can participate, and, you can even get consultations. And I mean, there's a lot that you can do without overcommitting yourself. So don't put the cart in front of the horse and get yourself committed to something that you don't believe in and you can't follow through with when you don't have to. And I say this with total sincerity and love for the tradition, because I love the tradition, and love for my people. I love my people. I've dedicated my life to working for my people and serving my people. And I don't want you to be suffering with something that has brought me and so many other people so much joy. And it shouldn't be a complication in your life. It should be, a source of wisdom. Wisdom doesn't complicate things. Wisdom simplifies things. Wisdom clarifies things. When you get the word of wisdom, even if you don't quite understand it, it's going to make you sit down and ponder, and you're going to hold on to it until it's revealed to you. That's the nature of wisdom. And so I'm trying to impart the little bit of wisdom that has been shared with me, with the hopes that you're going to get everything out of this tradition that you truly deserve as a child of Africa. And as always, I'm saying this because I'm looking for leaders. I am in search of people who want to change the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, find out how I can help you take your practice and your life to the next level. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start living the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. Bye for now. Odabo.